Hey Moira, this is your brother. So, you and Mom have cut off all effective communications with me. I've been leaving voicemails with you and Mom, and I've been sending you uh, recorded voice messages via text message. So, the last time you and Mom did this to me, it was right after Dad died. Dad died. You and Mom said you'd handle the funeral arrangements, the wake arrangements, and you delayed it, and then you just gave him a graveside service with no wake and no funeral. You and Mom chucked him in the ground like a piece of garbage. Dad, who was a confirmed Catholic and a very good Catholic, and a graduate of Boston College and the Georgetown Preparatory School, where from the time his father died when he was 13 until he was went off to until he graduated from Boston College, Dad was raised by the Jesuits. From the time he was 13 years old until he graduated from college, Dad was raised by Jesuits after his father died. The Jesuits made a man out of him. And you and Mom threw that wonderful man in the ground like a piece of garbage with no wake and no funeral. And let's just say the eulogy you gave at the graveside service was wooden and pathetic like your idol Ayn Rand. So anyways, after that happened, at Dad's graveside, Mom gave me a check for $300. And I had, I don't know, a little bit of money in my checking account. And Mom promised me money for food monthly. And at that time, I was still under the impression that Mom was going to stand by the contract she had made with me, which was, Edward, if you take care of your father and I until we are both dead, you will get half the estate. Obviously, that has turned out not to be true. Now, after that conversation with Mom at Dad's graveside, you and Mom cut off all communication with me. You and Mom cut off all communication with me. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And it got to the point where I only had $300 left in my name. And I needed food. You know, I do like to eat. And I was in a state of destitution because Mom, in cooperation with you, even though I didn't fully know it at the time, had committed affinity fraud against me. Specifically, Mom promised me millions of dollars in return for taking care of her and Dad until they both died. And I performed my part of this contract for over 10 years. And the writing memorializing this contract was mutual wills that Mom had and Dad had, which was both wills are the same. Both wills say each child gets half the estate. If she said it once, she said it 100 times. 50-50 right down the middle, Edward. Don't worry. And so if anybody wants to raise a statute of frauds issue, the writing was Mom and Dad's wills, excuse me. They're called mutual wills, where each will is the same. They're just sort of a mirror image of one another. It's just the words about who predeceases who. They are reversed. The Mom's will would say, if I predecease my husband, then etc., etc. Now, you and Mom did not tell me that Dad's will had been changed at his graveside. You did not tell me Dad's will had been changed when you saw me in March of 2024 when I drove down to St. Luke's Emergency Department in New Bedford to see him. The last time I saw Dad alive, when you and Mom had neglected and abused Dad such that he ended up in the emergency department at St. Luke's. You and Mom had been in charge of his health care since late January of 2024, and he was back in the emergency department needing to be readmitted to the hospital system by March. That's not long. You had him for 7-8 weeks, and he was back in the hospital. That's called abuse and neglect. Anyways, here's the point. You and Mom cut off all communication with me, and Mom didn't send me money. So naturally, I drove down to Dartmouth looking for Mom and some money for food because I like to eat. And I had taken care of my parents loyally and working very hard for over 10 years. And I was promised millions of dollars, and I sacrificed a lot for that. I expect my family to honor their promises to me because I honor my promises to them. So what happened? I drove down to Dartmouth in the summer of 2024 to, first of all, because I needed money for food. Second of all, because you and Mom had cut off all communication with me. I couldn't raise anybody on a smartphone or a cell phone. And I was also concerned for Mom's safety. I got to the house at 30 Michon Point Road. And I knocked on the door. And I noticed the locks had been changed. I had a key, but I couldn't let myself in because someone had installed a bolt-action lock. A bolt lock on the... a deadbolt on the front door. No one had told me about that. I went around to the plate glass windows on the front of the house and knocked, looking for Mom. And I'm like, Mom, you in there? And I saw a fat woman waddling into the bedroom, which concerned me. She was hurrying. As it turned out later, it was you. I didn't recognize you because you must be drinking too much of that expensive white wine you like and going out to dinner. Remember, Moira, you don't know how to cook. At best, you can boil pasta. I've seen your kitchen cabinet at that apartment you had downtown in Boston. You know that apartment you had that was on the border of Chinatown, downtown Boston, Moira? Remember? Before you moved to New York, after Forrester Research shit-canned you, you were, or around the time Forrester Research shit-canned you, you were living down in the financial district, but you were really living in Chinatown? Or right on the border of it? Yeah, we can talk about that later. And the little blinking light I saw bouncing off your window from Chinatown. Anyways, we can talk about that at another time. So anyways... yeah, I've seen your kitchen cabinets. You order out food a lot, Moira. So you've gained some weight. I went around to the front door, back door. I knocked some more. I was concerned about Mom. I walked over to the Prius. I sat down in the open door of the Prius sideways, and I'm clicking through my phone trying to raise somebody, and a Dartmouth police officer shows up. Young female in her 20s. She gets out, and I said, "Are you here for me?" And she says, "I can't tell you that." I said, "Okay." I said, "Is my mom in there?" She says, "I can't tell you that." And then 3 more Dartmouth police officers show up. There was an SUV in the driveway that I did not recognize. It turned out it was a rented BMW sport utility vehicle from New Jersey. You rent expensive shit, Moira. You're spending Dad's money like water. I tell you, you're not renting Chevys. You're not renting you're not renting a Prius there, Moira. You're renting yourself a fancy BMW in New Jersey. Anyways, yeah, you're spending Dad's money fast there, Moira. You were already spending Dad's money like water in the summer of 2024. Anyways, but I would like to note here that due to the response time of the Dartmouth PD to the address at 30 Michon Point Road, Dartmouth, Massachusetts, you had to have called them before I arrived. See, for anyone listening to this, Moira, who is not familiar with the layout of the town of Dartmouth, Massachusetts, and where 30 Michon Point Road is, 30 Michon Point Road is, if you speed at about 42 miles an hour and drive from Padanaram, a town within this little hamlet within the town of Dartmouth. If you drive from Padanaram at the causeway all the way down Smith Neck Road to 30 Michon Point Road. It takes 20 minutes if you're doing 40 miles an hour. Well, 20, yeah, roughly. I haven't done it in 2 years, but I've done it in a while. But I think it's about 20 minutes. It takes a long time to get from Route 6 all the way down to Michon Point. So those Dartmouth police officers, they were already responding to that location before I arrived, given the arrival time of the first police officer. So anyways, long story short, after a long conversation with the Dartmouth police, and including a demonstration about how you almost had me murdered by the Polizei, the Landespolizei, in Germany in just after New Year's 1988, the Dartmouth PD, because they're smart and they're not corrupt pieces of shit like the Newton PD, they figured out that you were probably trying to have me murdered again by the police. And the last, I gave them a little law school class, mini law school class using the Socratic method. After the Dartmouth PD warmed up to me a little bit, they weren't being nice, but they were more comfortable. They had realized I was not dangerous. And I gave them a little law school class about how you were breaking the law, probably. And I said, we're going to do the rhetorical method, officers. And the Socratic method, excuse me. We're going to do the Socratic method. And I did a little Socratic method with them about how you were trapping me with money. How you and Mom had used fraud and trickery to trap me with money. So that I didn't have any money and I didn't know what the fuck to do. And I had to come to you for the money, where you and Mom called the police on me, hoping that they would do me violence or kill me. I didn't mention the last part to the Dartmouth PD, but they figured it out, given that I explained to them that you had almost had me murdered by the Landespolizei in West Germany, in Lüneburg, West Germany in 1988. And I told them, look, at the time this happened in New Jersey, or excuse me, let me back that up, it wasn't New Jersey. At the time I was almost shot to death by the Landespolizei in Lüneburg, West Germany in 1988. I don't know why I was thinking about New Jersey there. Probably because we were living in New Jersey at the time. Anyways, I didn't, in 1988, I didn't realize that you were trying to murder me. I thought it was just some random event. Because your attempts on my life were about the space between them was about 7.5 to 11 years between them. Between the time I was 16 and about the time I was 35. So it happened so infrequently, I really didn't know what was going on. But in Dartmouth, in 2023, I figured it out. Anyways, the Dartmouth PD figured it out in the summer of 2024. The sister's a psycho. She's trying to use us to kill him or hurt him or intimidate him. They didn't say that out loud, what was pretty obvious from their behavior. After my little Socratic method demonstration about how you and Mom were trying to trap me with money and then call the police on me. Now, let's get down to the present. Let me finish off. The Dartmouth police officer who tried to provoke me a little bit, which I think is improper, but the police do that sometimes. They try to provoke a suspect to try and figure out what's going on. He tried to provoke me. I didn't bite. He realized I wasn't a threat. He realized I was not violent. And as I was getting in the car to back out, he was going back inside the house to talk to you. And I yelled out to him, I'm probably going to be dead in 2 months. And he responded, I don't think that's going to be a problem. And then he walked back in to talk to you. And then within 2 weeks, you had promised to start sending me money for food every month, which you stopped doing 10 days ago. And you have left me in the lurch. Now, you and Mom have also cut off all communication for a very long time now. Probably for about 3 months. So, because you're a stupid psychopath, Moira, and because stupid psychopaths repeat the same dysfunctional, maladaptive behaviors over and over and over again, there is a probability, not a guarantee, but a probability that you are trying to arrange to have me physically intimidated or killed by the very corrupt pieces of shit in the Newton police, some of whom use the prostitutes who work at Newtonville Massage Therapy. I know this because I worked on a search warrant when I was an assistant district attorney for the city of Newton. It was for a house of prostitution. Not going to say the location right now. It was not where Newtonville Massage Therapy is now. But I've seen some of the prostitutes outside that place. They're Chinese. That location, right? Because I was driving by. It's a location I drive by on occasion. Yeah, I once saw John walking outside with one of the prostitutes holding hands. It was gross. Anyways, I don't know why he would do that. So that's the first reason I know this prostitution Newton. Second is I've seen the pictures. When you search Newtonville Massage Therapy on Google Maps, and the pictures that come up pretty much scream house of prostitution. There's a young, attractive Chinese woman holding a smartphone or a cell phone. That's the first letter thing, Moira. Like Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. You know what Whiskey Tango Foxtrot stands for, right? What the bleep? What the flock? Right? Right? Freemasons say that someone is raining and snowing. That means really stupid. Right? Have you ever heard the term snafu or foobar? Right. The first letter thing is very common. It's as old as the Renaissance. There's something called an acrostic. It's a form of poetry where the first letter of each stanza or each line spells out a word. It got James May fired from Autocar magazine. The guy who was on Top Gear, that British car TV show, he did an acrostic in Top Car magazine. He got fired for what he said. Anyways, so the first letter thing is common throughout human history, right? Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, foobar, raining and snowing, snafu, whatever. NFW, right? You remember NFW from Wall Street in the 80s, NFW, right? So anyways, let's get back to Newtonville Massage Therapy's ad on their Google Maps result. It's a Chinese woman, attractive young Chinese woman, holding a cell phone, CP. Now, what could CP stand for? Well, C definitely stands for Chinese because she's Chinese, and P, well, let's just say it's a impolite term for the female pudenda. Let's say it stands for Chinese pudenda, right? Pudenda is a British term for vulva. So CP is obviously saying the female anatomy of a Chinese person is on sale here. This is criminal subtext, and it's obvious. Also, the pictures are suggestive of a windowless room with candles that are a windowless room with lights that are like candles, and a bed that doesn't really look like a massage bed, and with pillows and a normal sort of sheet on it, or bed sort of duvet. I don't know what they call it, a duvet or whatever. It's like a sort of like a normal bed cover. Basically, they're telling the world sex is for sale here. So A, we've got the search warrant I worked on back in 2002. B, we've got Newtonville Massage Therapy, which is obviously a house of prostitution, from its ad on Google Maps and its Google Maps result. And the fact that a Newton police officer on the evening of July 3rd, 2025, admitted to me during a discussion of Newtonville Massage Therapy that he got massages. He said, I've got a bad back. I get massages. I have a bad back. He said, I get massages. I have a bad back. What's wrong with that? A Newton policeman. At the time, he was threatening me with a psych hold, which was a threat of kidnapping. This was the evening of July 3rd, 2025. Now, he did not specifically say he got his massages at Newtonville Massage Therapy, but that was the only massage therapy place we were talking about during that conversation. And he's a police officer in Newton. I mean, he doesn't exactly drive to New Hampshire for his massages, does he? Unless, of course, they have, the kind of prostitute he prefers up in New Hampshire. I don't know. But, the general idea of the conversation was, the gist of the conversation was, he gets massages at Newtonville Massage Therapy. A sworn Newton police officer threatening me with a psych hold, basically threatening me with kidnapping at the time. And I had called them regarding a missing car from the driveway. So I know there's corruption in the city of Newton with the police. They suck. Also, a police sergeant from another town told me they sucked when I worked in Waltham at the DA's office. He told me the Newton police sometimes just grabs people without having probable cause for arrest because they're stupid. This was a guy who had originally been a state policeman and then chose to work for another town. This guy was an excellent police officer. Excellent. He had made it onto the state police and then decided to work for a local police department. He was excellent. Anyways. So, the Newton police are shitheads. And they're corrupt. And they're using prostitutes. And you and mom have cut off all communication again and aren't sending me money. So this feels just like the summer of 2024. You're using economic pressure, and I suspect, based upon the foregoing 21-minute recitation, that because you're a psychopath, because you have certain patterns, you are going to attempt to use the Newton police or the state police to do something to me as a result of lies told by you, or you probably half-truths. In your case, Moira, it'll be like your college education. It will be half-truths. Yes, you graduated from Wellesley College, but no, you did not legitimately enter Wellesley College, because there's no way you could have lived off campus and legitimately graduated from Wellesley College because you were not first admitted to another undergraduate baccalaureate program, which is required for Davis Scholars. And you must have been a Davis Scholar because you never lived on campus at Wellesley. And you don't make this clear on your LinkedIn page. In the part of your LinkedIn page that talks about your education. It does not say Davis Scholar. And your LinkedIn page does not mention any other college you may have attended before Wellesley, which is required for Davis Scholars, which you had to have been because you didn't live on campus. All other Wellesley college students, undergraduates, must live on campus for a time. And I know you didn't live on campus because I moved you into that stupid friggin' apartment you lived in for the entire time. I sweated and hauled and huffed and puffed your furniture into apartment 8 of 2001 Commonwealth Avenue, Boston, Massachusetts, after I'd loaded it into a Ryder truck in Michigan and driven it halfway across the goddamn country with your then fiancé, now ex-husband, Larry Hernandez. So I am certain you never lived on campus at Wellesley College, because I actually moved the friggin' furniture you lived on when you attended Wellesley College. And the books, and the silverware, and the cats, and your cats. Remember Maggie? You remember Cleo? Remember Cleo? Remember Cleo and Maggie, Moira? You've done this to somebody who's known you since you were a little girl, Moira. That's a mistake. Remember Cleo? Remember how we got Cleo for you? Dave Stravick, my friend, we were 17. We had just gotten our licenses. Dave Stravick had a girlfriend who had a cat that the mother was going to put to sleep because it was badly behaved. So Dave Stravick and I went over to her house, Dave Stravick's girlfriend's house. I stuffed the cat in my leather jacket. The leather jacket I almost got gunned down in Germany. The bomber jacket, remember the bomber jacket I almost got gunned down in Germany? Yeah. I stuffed Cleo into my coat. It was a cat rescue. Dave and I literally drove right out over there in his little Chevy Cavalier. We went to the house, said, "Where's the cat?" I stuffed Cleo in my bomber jacket, zipped up the bomber jacket. Dave drove, and we drove back to 625 Clark Street, Westfield, New Jersey, where we tried to figure out Cleo, who was a very badly behaved cat. And then we gave her to you, and she lived in Ohio with you and Larry, and then in Michigan with you and Larry, and then at the Baker Chocolate Factory with you and Larry, where she was later put to sleep. She got old and she died. And of course there was Maggie. I drove those two cats from one of the Grosse Points in Michigan to New Jersey with Larry in the Ryder truck, and then I stuck them in the Corsica, and Larry drove the Ryder truck up to Boston, and I drove the Corsica up to Boston, where we then moved you into your apartment at 2001 Commonwealth Avenue, apartment 8, Boston, Massachusetts. So I am certain you never lived on campus at Wellesley College, Moira. And I am certain you were never admitted to another undergraduate baccalaureate program before you attended Wellesley College. So your undergraduate degree, Moira, was obtained by some means of fraud. Anyways, here's the point. The facts of what's going on right now are similar to what happened in the summer of 2024. You and Mom have cut off all communication, and it's the kind of situation. It's the kind of the fact pattern is roughly like the situation where, without telling me first, by means of ambush, you're going to tell half truths to the Newton Police or the Massachusetts State Police and try and have me indicted or arrested for something. And probably try and have me murdered in custody by a corrupt police officer. Because you've stolen my inheritance, and you've done it in such a blatant and fraudulent way that you're caught. Don't do this, Moira. Please don't do this. Everyone involved will realize you're a murderer. For your own sake, stop breaking the law, you stupid fucking psychopath. You stupid fucking psychopath. Got it? You're in trouble, Moira. Don't make it worse by telling a bunch of half-truths to the Massachusetts State Police or the corrupt Newton Police to try and get me falsely indicted, arrested, investigated, or somehow harassed by the police. It will not go well. It will be your fourth time at this rodeo. And I'll make a list for you, Moira. The Landespolizei in Lüneburg, West Germany in 1980, or very early 1988. The Newton Police, who kidnapped me sometime around 2017 when I, by means of placing me in protective custody, when one of the Newton Police threatened me with death in only a slightly veiled way. I think it was 2017. The medical records say the year. I wasn't arrested. I was placed in protective custody and dragged off to St. Elizabeth's Medical Center inpatient psych unit, and then wrongfully charged with assault and battery over 60, which was later dismissed in district court. That's an indictable offense, and it was dismissed in district court. Those are the only facts you need to know the charges were completely false, and brought by the Newton PD, probably. Way to go, Newton PD. You kidnapped me, you threatened me with death, and you falsely charged me with a crime that was dismissed. You people suck. You suck at your jobs, Newton PD. I'm amazed they let you carry guns. Let's see, what's number 3? Oh, Dartmouth in the summer of 2024. You had the Dartmouth PD threaten me. The Dartmouth PD never told me what you said to get him there. And there's a reason they didn't tell me. They knew you were probably lying, and they didn't want me to nail your ass. They didn't want me to go to them and say, I want her indicted or charged with false report. Whatever the crime is in Massachusetts for false report to the police, I want her charged. That's why the Dartmouth PD didn't tell me why they were there. They knew you. They had a strong suspicion you were lying. How do I know that? I worked in law enforcement for 4 years, Moira. I was an assistant district attorney for 4 years. I'm not great at understanding how the police think, but I have a better understanding of how the police think than the general public. Certainly, I have a better understanding of how the police think than you do, Moira. So, Moira, let's see, we got Lüneburg, 1988. We got the Newton PD in 2017. We got Dartmouth PD in 2024. Yeah, you don't want to do this again, Moira. It won't go well. Do not do this again. You're stuck, Moira. You've committed several crimes and you're caught. You haven't been indicted, investigated, or arrested yet, but the facts are there. And I'm going to hire an attorney, a civil attorney, contingency attorney. We're going to sue you, and then we're going to attempt to embarrass the Middlesex County District Attorney's Office and whatever county Dartmouth is in. I'm so embarrassed. I should know what county Dartmouth, Massachusetts is in. I think it's Bristol. I'll double check. We're going to try and embarrass the District Attorney's Offices in Middlesex County and whatever county Dartmouth is in. I think it's Bristol. I'll double check. Into charging you with something or indicting you for something. Because, Moira, you're a psychopath. You're a fucking criminal. You and your mother, at a minimum, neglected and abused your father until he went into the hospital system and he died. I think you had him murdered by the Greek mob, but there isn't much to prove it. And you stole my inheritance. You and Mom working together committed affinity fraud, stole 10 years of my labor, and have deprived me of around $10 million of inheritance. That's bad, Moira. That's very bad. And you've sicked the police on me wrongfully 3 times. And in Germany in 1988, the guns were drawn. Tell you, that was fucking scary in Germany in 1988. I was too young and too stupid to know how to be so scared. One had a pistol, and the other one had a submachine gun. I think it was a Heckler and Koch. Jesus Christ, that was scary. It was so scary, I wrote my college entrance essay to Union about it. About how I valued every day, because I almost got gunned down at the age of 16. How I value every day of my life from here on in, because I'm still breathing, and I almost got gunned down when I was 16 by policemen who were screaming in a language I didn't speak a word of. So, Moira, whatever illegal shit you're thinking about doing, whatever half-truths you're thinking about telling to law enforcement, state, federal, or local, to get me in trouble, to attempt to get me in trouble, don't do it. Do not do it. You're not smart enough to get away with it, you stupid fucking psychopath. Please take care of my nephew, Moira. He's a good kid. And I would very much like to know where Liam is going to college. Also, Liam's going to turn 18 soon, which means, regardless of what you say, he can talk to his Uncle Edward. Now, you'll threaten to take away money if he talks to Uncle Edward. But, because you're a control freak and you're a psychopath. But, and I'm going to go over this one more time. Moira, calling the Dartmouth PD on me in the summer of 2024, by luring me there, by, cutting off all communication and knowing I was going to run out of money for food and not answering the door when I knocked and calling the police on me and changing the locks without telling me and not answering the door and hiding in the bedroom and calling the police on me before I arrived, and not bothering to tell me about Dad's changed will. That's the behavior of a psychopath. That is absolutely, positively, certainly, beyond any doubt, the behavior of a psychopath. You are a psychopath, Moira. The incident in the summer of 2024 in Dartmouth, at 30 Michon Point Road, Dartmouth, Massachusetts, demonstrates beyond any doubt that you are a psychopath. And psychopathy, the behaviors of a psychopath, lying and conning and cheating and doing horrible things to people and committing crimes, and you're a successful one because you've been getting away with it for a long time, Moira. These behaviors start in adolescence, and it is a rigid personality style that never changes throughout life. So, Moira, you're a dangerous person. You're a danger to the public, and you belong in prison, in my opinion. And by the way, this also means I'm certain, because you are a psychopath and because behaviors of a psychopath begin in adolescence and are rigid personality style throughout life, I'm certain you used fraud or some form of lying or half-truth to get into Wellesley College. So I am certain, because you are a psychopath who uses half-truths to get through in life, and you lie, cheat, and steal, I am certain that your Wellesley College degree was obtained by means of some form of fraud. Because you were 27 when you entered Wellesley College. And again, you're a psychopath, you lie, you cheat, you steal, and you work through parties, and to lie, cheat, and steal, and you were 27 when you entered Wellesley College, so it's a certainty that you cheated somehow to get into Wellesley College, and that thusly your Wellesley College degree was not legitimately obtained. You're sort of an Elizabeth Holmes and a Clark Rockefeller, Moira, and you're in trouble. So whatever you're thinking about doing, don't do it. You've got to start acting like a law-abiding adult with respect to me, Moira, or else you'll go to prison sooner than you otherwise would, or your chance at avoiding a custodial sentence for whatever you have done to me will be lost. Right now, if you play your cards right, you might avoid a custodial sentence. You'll get convicted of something, but you'll avoid a custodial sentence. You'll get probation. You do anything else to me, like by telling half-truths to the police to get me investigated or attempt to get me indicted, you'll end up with a custodial sentence, Moira. Okay? You got to behave yourself, my dear. Good luck, Moira. You're a very pathetic human being. Take care of that kid, Liam. He's a good kid. You're in trouble for what you did to me. And Dad, you do anything to that wonderful child of yours, who Larry Hernandez did a great job raising, with an assist from me and Dad. You do anything to that child, Liam Anthony Hernandez, you'll be in extremely serious trouble. You'll never see the light of day again. The police in New York would not look kindly if you did anything to that kid. Would not look kindly on you. The police in the state of New York or the city of New York would not look kindly on you in this context if you do anything to that wonderful young man, Liam Anthony Hernandez. Okay? Good luck, psycho.